Hello and welcome to my new channel, My Aspie Marriage. Where do I want to begin? My husband hasn't had a formal diagnosis. We found out that our son had Asperger's about 4 years ago, and there were several doctors who diagnosed him, but the last one to have interactions with him asked a series of questions, and from that it was determined that it was very likely that hubby also had Asperger's. So he prefers to be called Aspie, so does my son. I think that that's because there's a lot of stigmatism around the word autistic. It makes them feel like there's something wrong with them, and it's sort of an awful feeling for them to have. So we call it Aspie. It sounds more lighter, fun, playful. So yeah, we just kind of embrace it in that way. So yeah, no formal diagnosis. But I got a list of different things that Aspies do, and I read that list and I just knew. I just was like tick, 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 yes, 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 and more yes. And prior to that, I had been wondering why he was different. I knew that my husband was different because I'd had partners before him, but I just didn't know what the thing was. Just that there was something. And people had tried to guess, like friends of mine were saying things like maybe he's narcissistic or sociopathic, what's the one where you're just not very social? Anyway, and I would look those up and they wouldn't resonate. I knew that he wasn't those things. For ages, I was always wondering that I had my answer. So that's sort of the beginning. Now, at this point in time, we've been together for about 24 years, 24 plus, 24 and so many months, and we found out about 4 years ago. So for 20 years of the marriage, it was just me wondering what on earth was going on. Let us start at the beginning, courting. When we met, it was kind of like, I wouldn't say the word obsessed, but he definitely fell right into it, really sort of strongly. We would talk on the phone for hours. We wrote each other several page letters, and they were frequent. I would say several times a month. He was really good at selling himself. So we would talk on the phone about, firstly the usual things: brothers, sisters, family, work, past, history, all these kinds of things. But he would sell himself as Mr. Romantic. He was often mentioning to me that he was a romantic, that he liked the whole flowers and wine and dinners and chocolates and teddy bears and all that sort of stuff. He sounded, very, very good. He also had a job, a house, a car, which were the things that I also had. And I liked that about him. I liked that he was stable, that he was working, he knew what he wanted to be when he grew up, and he just fell into that and was doing an amazing job just working his way up his ladder and everything like this. So he had a lot going for him. He was stable, he was sweet, generous, kind. He had a lot of really endearing qualities. And we would talk about things like, have you ever cheated on your partners and things like this, and both of us hadn't. What about gambling? And neither of us do. What else? Trying to think of, like the deal breakers. I can't think of them off the top of my head what other deal breakers are, but we would talk about that, and I realised that we had a lot of sort of ethical things in common, which was further adding to the appeal. Plus the fact that he was incredibly good looking. At least I thought so. Of course, we always think so. He had a really nice body, really fit, looked after himself. He's that kind of metro man who moisturised and, things like that. He dressed well. He was a fine specimen of a man, I guess you'd say. I had a friend who also had dated an Aspie, and she had this motto where if she's not getting what she wants within 6 months of the relationship, she's out of there. And I really like that motto. I think it's a very good motto. I think that if your partner's not meeting your needs in those 6 months, you know, it's not a good sign, because 6 months is your honeymoon period. That being said, when it comes to my Aspie and other Aspies that I've heard about through other women who are married to them, their partners pursued them with a passion. They were not just getting what they wanted, they were getting beyond. They were having the nice dinners and, you know, the conversations, in my case the letters, the phone calls, you know, all that sort of really lovely stuff. So he dived right in head first and really wooed me and pursued me and talked himself up and sold himself. Now, I don't recall in those times, because we're talking a very long time ago now, did we talk about emotional things? I cannot recall. I don't know if there were feelings and things involved. I know that he talked about an ex who had left him for another man and that had hurt him, so I knew that that had happened. But as for any sort of residual feelings or scarrings or things like this, you know, I'm not really sure if we talked about the emotional side of things. It was kind of like, these things happened, if you get what I mean. Yeah, we did talk about sex and things like that. We do a little bit of sort of, you know, raunchy talk on the phone and things like this, which was a first for me. I've never really done anything like that. He seemed to have this sort of sexy, playful side to himself as well. That was the first sort of year that went on for. And yeah, like I said, he was really just putting his best foot forward, as they say, to the point where I really thought that I had a very good catch. So that's generally how it goes in the beginning. A lot of people who are in relationships with Aspies will tell you very similar stories where the guy pursued them. They almost become his new special interest, which is what I think happened in my case, definitely. They'll really go all out. They'll like you, they'll want to be with you, they'll want to have a relationship with you, and they'll do whatever it takes to get themselves there. At least that was my experience and the experience of other women that I've spoken to. Now, I should point out that all relationships are different. There'll be certain traits that my husband has that other Aspie men will have, and there'll be certain Aspies who don't follow this regime, such as my friend with that 6-month motto. Her guy didn't do that. Whether he didn't do it because he wasn't as invested, would he have done that, and has he done it previously with people he is more invested in? I'm not sure. So I just wanted to point that out there, that the things I talk about in this situation, they really do relate to me. And as I said, there'll be a lot of things that my guy does that are not really Aspie traits. However, dealing with them with the fact that he's also Asperger's does get a little bit tricky and complicated. You have to come up with these really sort of clever ways to deal with things. So that was our first year. Let me know below if you're in a relationship with a neurodiverse person. Did you find the same thing? Did they pursue you? Was the courting really intense? Did they really talk themselves up and sell themselves to you? Or was it just kind of a let's plod along and fall into place thing? And if you are Aspie yourself, or autism as you may like to be called, autistic, is that how you sort of operate? Can you see yourself in that, where you get sort of a one-track mind with the person that you really like and just dive in and go for it? Anyway, leave some comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And I really appreciate you watching my video here. I will just say that I had some videos like this before on another channel, but that was wrong because that was my business channel. However, I have had people ask me to make these videos. They've sort of said that I'm really frank and just tell it like it is, and I have some random creative ways of dealing with things. So you may find that as we go along, you may not. But either way, I just wanted to put it out there that I had videos before, they were taken down, and I'm starting again here. So anyway, thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for watching.